grab your notebook if you didn't grab it yet. Jordan? I see my computer, man. Sweet. So we're continuing in our series throughout the ministry of Jesus. Tonight, we're talking about kind of a familiar story in the Bible. So what I need you guys to do is I need you to get in groups of 3. It's got to be 3. If leaders need to be included, to make it a group of 3. So everyone can get in groups of 3. Groups of 3. Who needs a group? We need one person in a group back there. All right. What about now? All right. Yeah, Jojo, you can go with them. That's perfect. All right, everyone's got a group of 3, right? All right. All right, sweet. All right, so this is what I need. I need my computer to work with me. So let me get this squared away. Everyone say, good job, Jordan.
Good job, Jordan.
All right. All right. So this is what we're going to do, all right? We have a lot of group discussion today. But just to let you know, I'm not going to give you a lot of time because we have a lot of group discussion to get through. So in your group, each person is going to kind of give a story and answer these questions in your story. But look, stick to the facts. All right? Yeah, you don't have to go on, well, my brother's sister's cousin, the one that, go on and on and on. Yeah. Just stick to the facts and make it kind of quick. All right, ready? Go. 1 minute warning. Hey. All right. I hope you guys got a chance to share. If not, you can share later with your group. But go ahead and stay in your groups, okay? Stay in your groups. And let me just share with you briefly a time when I got busted. Probably one of the worst things that I ever did, I got busted, was it was like one of my first times staying home alone with my older brother. And, so I guess I wasn't alone, but just me and him, And I used to enjoy playing with model rockets. I don't know if any of you guys ever have used those, but you build these model rockets. They got little engines, and you push this button, shoot up in the sky, right? And super sweet. Well, I had all my engines fused, and I was doing science experiments in my room trying to figure out how these things worked, and I ended up lighting one off in my room. So this thing catches on fire, and it's just like this tube of like explosive material, and it's like shooting all over my room, lighting things on fire. And I'm like, oh no, right? It lit my literature book on fire, and so I just grabbed, it lit my my wall on fire. So I grabbed this pillow that my grandma had like knitted for me, super flammable, right? So I throw that at it, catches that on fire. I grab my literature book, which was the only other thing there, threw that at it, caught that on fire. I finally ran over and picked it up, and I run over to my window, and I lived in this really old house. And so in the old house, you don't have the slidey screens with the right? You have a screen with a frame around it that has a little metal hook that goes into a little eyelet. Well, that had, of course, been painted probably 500 times in the 100 years that the house was built. So you can't exactly get those out very easy. So I'm holding this thing in my hand, and it's just burning me, right? So I finally get it open, and I throw it out the window, and it just goes, poof, and just slowly falls to the ground because it went out, right? I finally get it out the window when it's done. So I was screaming, this thing's in my hand. My neighbor sticks his head out the window, and he's like, hey, what the bleep's going on over there? I'm like, I'm okay. I'm just like a little kid, And so filled my whole house up with smoke, and I'm like, I'm dead meat, right? You guys know the feeling, right? I am dead meat. I am busted. My brother comes up, what the heck's going on, So he's like, man, you just wait till our parents get home. You're so busted. So pretty crazy experience, and I want you guys to think of that feeling of just oh man, busted, right? Maybe your parents made you go get the belt. Do they still do that? I had to do that, the walk of shame. Pull the belt out and bring it to my dad. It's just I cried worse during the walk of shame than I did when I was actually getting hit with the belt, So, yeah, so we've been there. So we're going to read about a woman who got busted, John chapter 8. We're actually going to start at the end of 7. And really, we're picking up kind of where we left off. Remember, Jesus is at the Feast of Tabernacles, right? He's teaching. There's Pharisees. They don't like him. The Pharisees all went home, but Jesus went to the Mount of Olives, right? If you remember, he's kind of trying to like come in at certain times, but kind of keep his distance with the people because they're trying to kill him. So at dawn, he comes back to the temple, and where all the people gathered around him, and he sat down to teach them. The teachers of the law and the Pharisees brought in a woman caught in adultery. Everyone say, busted. Busted. They made her stand before the group and said to Jesus, "Teacher, this woman was caught in the act of adultery." That's embarrassing, right? In the law, Moses commanded us to stone such a woman. Now, what do you say? So they were using this question as a trap in order to have a basis for accusing him. So, again, the Pharisees are trying to trap Jesus. So there's many speculations as was this woman set up? Obviously this whole thing was a setup. They caught this woman in the act doing something that is kind of a private issue, So I'm sure, why were there all these witnesses to this act? I have no idea. So it's smelling a little fishy to me here. So something's going on. They're trying to set up Jesus here, and this woman here is kind of caught in the middle of it. So you have Jesus standing there. He's trying to teach, and all of a sudden, these people interrupt his teaching with this big scene and all this drama. You have this woman who's like, who knows? Hopefully they let her put some clothes on before they dragged her out into the street. I mean, let's consider this scenario and situation here. And then you have these Pharisees and teachers of the law, and what are they doing right now? Is this appropriate? What's going on? So they're trying to trap him in order to have a basis for accusing him. So let me give you some backstory here. They referred to, hey, the law of Moses commands that we should stone such a woman. Well, here's the law of Moses, or sometimes it's referred to as the Mosaic law. Okay, it can be found in Deuteronomy, also Leviticus. If a man is found sleeping with another man's wife, both the man who slept with her and the woman must die. You must purge evil from Israel. So it was saying this was a crime punishable by death, by stoning, right? And then also in Leviticus, if a man commits adultery with another man's wife, with the wife of his neighbor, both the adulterer and the adulteress are to be put to death. So here, the Mosaic law actually says that they're both supposed to be put to death, right? But they, of course, just pulled this woman in front of Jesus. So you have this, the Mosaic law, which God gave to Moses. It's part of the law that God gave to Moses to keep the Jewish people set apart. The Jewish people were chosen to represent God in the earth. So they were supposed to remain a holy people. They had a strict law with strict consequences in order to prevent people from breaking the law. So that's what the Mosaic law said. So they were actually kind of telling the truth here. But then the reason it's a trap is because then you have the Roman law on top of it, where the Romans actually, remember, the Romans ruled the Israelites and the Jewish people, but they allowed them to continue to practice their religion. So because of that, they were allowed to settle disputes among their own court system. All right? So they had like the Sanhedrin, which was religious leaders, political leaders. They kind of had their own court system and political system in place, but it was subject to Roman authority. And the Roman authority said, you can govern yourselves up to a certain point, but you cannot enforce the death penalty. Okay? So anything that required the death penalty had to go to the Roman court system or Roman ruling. So, and you see that in John 18:31, where they brought Jesus to Pontius Pilate, and Pilate said, take him yourselves and judge him by your own law. He said, why are you bothering us with this man? And they answered, but we have no right to execute anyone. So you see this where the people wanted Jesus executed. That's why they brought him to the Roman government. So you see wherein lies the trap, that if Jesus lets this woman off the hook, then he's disobeying God's law, right? He's breaking the Mosaic law if he lets her off the hook, because the law says that she should be killed. But if he says, yes, she should be killed, everybody pick up your stones, then they can take him to the Roman authorities and say, hey, this guy's trying to overthrow the Roman government, and he's not submitting to your laws. So they're trying to put him in a situation where he can't win, right? So therein lies the trap. So this is what we're going to do. Within your group, we have like 3 different parties in this story, okay? So within your group, one person is going to be Jesus, one person's going to be the woman, and one person's going to be a Pharisee. I'll give you 10 seconds to figure that out, okay? Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. Let me get all the women over here. Let me get all the Jesuses over here. All right, that means all you guys are Pharisees. All right, you guys can gather kind of in the center over there. All right. Now, what we're going to do is, for kind of the rest of the time, why don't you guys get comfortable? Maybe grab a chair, put your chairs in a circle. Because for the rest of the time, you're going to be in this group, and you're going to represent that person. All right? You can bring your notebooks. Yeah, sure. That'd be a good idea to bring your notebook, I would say. So I'm going to give you guys some questions, and I want you to talk about them. So, for the Jesus group, what are you thinking and feeling? For the woman group, what are you thinking and feeling? And if you're a Pharisee, what are you thinking or feeling? So you're putting yourself in the shoes of that person in this situation. So, what are you thinking and feeling? Everyone can remember that, right? Thinking and feeling. Here's your text. I'll leave it up there. Okay? So the woman just got brought before the people in the temple courts. All right, I want you, don't one person control the whole conversation, spread it around. I'm going to give you 5 minutes or so to talk about what are you feeling right now. Go. One minute. Okay, let's bring it in. Who's going to be the spokesperson for your group? Sweet. All right. Why don't you tell everyone what group you are and what you're thinking and feeling at this time?
We're the Pharisees, and we're probably thinking that we're proud. We're proud that we finally got Jesus in a trap, kind of. Yeah.
All right, so the Pharisees are feeling pretty proud of themselves. All right, who are you guys and how are you feeling?
Hi, we're Jesus. And we're all kind of feeling, a little annoyed at the fact that the Pharisees are still trying to trap us and, make us submit to what they want to have happen to us. But at the same time, we're trying to use it as a way to show the Pharisees and, the citizens who we are and who Christ is through us and, how having us, Jesus, in their lives will make their lives a lot better. So.
About to be a brawl over here, I think. All right, so that leaves the woman. Hey.
Hi, we're the woman, and we feel ashamed and guilty because we're in front of Jesus and we just committed a really big sin. And we're hoping Jesus will save us, but we're not sure maybe, but we're really scared.
All right. We have quite the dramatic scene unfolding here. So let's keep going in our story and see what happens. So Jesus bent down and started to write on the ground with his finger. When they kept on questioning him, he straightened up and he said to them, "Let any one of you who is without sin be the first to throw a stone at her." Again, he stooped down and wrote on the ground. At this, those who heard began to go away one at a time, the older ones first, until only Jesus was left with the woman standing there. The younger ones took a while until it was just Jesus and the woman standing there. And Jesus straightened up and asked her, "Woman, where are they? Has no one condemned you?" "No, no one, sir," she said. "Then neither do I condemn you. Go now and leave your life of sin." All right. Yay. All right, stay in your groups. I want you guys to be seated. You guys can come back and sit down. And I want you to talk about now, what are you thinking? What are you feeling? Give you another 5 minutes. Go. 1 minute. Closing statement. All right. Let's bring it in. Let's give the Pharisees some attention here. Are you the spokesperson still?
Yeah.
Sweet.
All right. Wait. Say how it feels. All right.
Shut the heck up.
Feel. Hey, shut up before you get crucified. That was so awesome. It created so much commotion. All right. We feel kind of dumb because we lost so many times, and like we keep on creating plans and they keep on failing. So I guess you could say Jesus roasted us at the barbecue.
Well done. Nice. All right. So, Jesus, how are you feeling? Actually, I'll get to you in a minute. Woman?
Okay. We are very relieved because we didn't die, so that's awesome. But we also feel really unworthy because we just sinned, but we were saved and we didn't die. And then hopefully, like in our opinion, if we were her, we would like spread the gospel and like share our testimony with people and like live a life worthy of Jesus now.
Nice.
Lead dogger. So towards the Pharisees, we feel pretty proud of ourselves because we totally owned you guys again. And probably we'll do it again very shortly. And towards the woman, you know, we feel love and compassion for her because of what she had to go through. And we're happy that we were able to touch her heart and show her our love. Amen.
All right. Okay. So have you guys figured out which person you are? Which person you relate to? More, it's kind of rhetorical. It's all right. You don't have to answer, but we find ourselves in the shoes of the woman, don't we? We find ourselves embarrassed. We find ourselves guilty. We can also find ourselves being forgiven and feeling unworthy. We can find ourselves in the position of the Pharisees. We can find ourselves sometimes in the position of Jesus. What I want you to do with your group is I want you to think about, again, you're kind of putting yourself in that person's shoes. What can you learn from your experience as that person that you can share? What did you learn about being a Pharisee? What did you learn about being Jesus in that situation? What did you learn about being the woman in that situation? What what can we take away? So I'm going to give you another 5 minutes to talk about a teaching point, something that one or two things that you're going to walk away with that you learned from that character or that person. Go. All right, 1 minute. All right, we're going to let the woman go first. So let's listen up.
Okay. At the end, we learn that God is so forgiving, and no matter what sin we do, we can be redeemed and we don't have to be condemned anymore. And we're saved and stuff. And then, I don't know, I just thought of this. It's like if we were the woman and we see Jesus like standing in front of us, like he's really there and he really forgave us. And then we can think of it that way too, even though he's not, his body isn't physically here, we can still think of that he's still forgiving us and that our sins have been redeemed and that we don't have to keep going back to it because we already been forgiven. So that's cool.
Hi, Danny. For us, it was kind of a weird idea to like think about being Jesus, because when we're praying or we're worshiping God, it's unto Jesus and it's not about us. And so being Jesus is kind of like an odd idea, but through being Jesus, like it showed us all, how hard it is to really forgive somebody, especially when what they're asking for forgiveness for isn't directly towards you, but some wrong that they've done in their life, and they just are asking God, God, I need your forgiveness because I know what I did was really wrong. And even like proving the Pharisees wrong, like for us, it sounds like a cool idea. Like, yeah, we're so smart, but at the same time, it's for God, it was a teaching aspect of his everyday life, and it was his goal and his purpose and his job to be on this earth and to, show everybody the true idea of who God really was in the flesh form. And so it was just kind of, even like it was only like a 10-minute thing, it was kind of a neat experience to be God for 10 minutes. So, yeah. Amen.
I think we just found it easy to be the condemner. I think Pharisees, we can relate to that easily as Christians, being able to judge people out of what we see. And then second thing, we could work on staying out of people's business. Yeah, so I think that's it. But
let me invite the worship team up. So we're going to close in some worship, but listen up. While they're coming up, I want you guys just to hear me for a minute. So right where you're at, just listen to what's going on. I don't know where you're at in your life, and sometimes we can relate with the woman in this story, that we feel guilty, we feel shame. Sometimes we can relate with Jesus, and we need to look and act like Jesus and give forgiveness, or show people around us what God really looks like. And sometimes, a lot of times, we're in the shoes of the Pharisees, and we're critical, and we're sticking our nose in other people's business. So tonight, think about where you land. Maybe you land in a couple different places, but I want you right now to connect with God on that level and just speak to God and worship him, because he's going to work with you where you're at in that place tonight. All right?